back to the channel. Today's video is a special one. I've only gone and bought myself another M3 CSL and I am over the moon. Even though there's potholes everywhere, that does not make me over the moon. I own one of these 15 years ago when I was 25 years old. And back then CSLs were just these cool, like limited edition M3s, and they weren't a thing back then, but they are now. And I'm so pleased to be able to say I own a CSL again. They are probably the most pure driving experience you can ever hope for from any M car. Now most of you already know what a CSL is. For those of you that don't, it's basically a stripped out version of the original E46 M3. So you've got the carbon roof, they've done weight saving throughout, so you've got all the carbon interior. It's got a massive carbon air intake in the engine that just gives it that sound. This one is a Sapphire Black. They only brought 422 CSLs into the UK. Only 106 of them were Sapphire Black. Power is up to 355 bhp, a little bit more than what the normal M3 used to put out, which is about 342, I think. But it's not about the bhp figure with this. But it is just the rarity of these cars. You do not see them. In the 15 years since I previously owned one of these, I've seen like 2 or 3 on the road. They are just so rare, and I love that about this car. You do not see them. But you will be seeing this, because I bought this car to use. This car is about the whole package. The fact it's so much more lightweight than the original, and as a result this car did the green hell 30, it was 32, maybe even 35 seconds quicker than the standard E46 M3, which is just a lifetime. But the noise, yes, this car only came with the SMG, but you know what, it's not an issue. I don't get what all the journalists are always on about, saying SMG is me. It really isn't that bad. I think it's because a lot of these journalists, they get the car and they're allowed to use it. They get the press car for maybe, I don't know, an afternoon, and the YouTubers, they get the car for the afternoon, the BMW press car, BMW 161 is the plate, and they form their entire opinion of the SMG box on that very short period of ownership that they have the car. Ownership, you know what I mean? As an owner, even back when I bought it the first time, 15 years ago, I was impressed with the SMG. Yes, it's not that great at low speeds, but that's not what this car is about. You don't drive it at low speeds. When you're up in the revs, when you're changing gear, it smashes them home. You've got the settings here. As long as you're not in the old granny settings, you're up in the higher aggressive settings. There is no issue with this SMG. It's a very similar system, almost identical to what the Ferraris and Lamborghinis, like the Stradale 360, they used to have the same technology. Did they get the same bashing that the SMG did? No, they didn't. It's probably because they've got such a weight with journalists that if they say one bad thing, then they're just going to be blacklisted and they're not allowed to use the cars again. BMW not so much. But yeah, the SMG, when you get used to it, even 15 years on, seriously, you tell me, even 15 years on, I'm still impressed with it. It rams the gears home like DSG doesn't, like DCT doesn't. But that aside, the weight balance of this car, it's just, I used to bring my RS4, my B7 through here, and that thing, they handle well, don't get me wrong, but this, it's no comparison. It's just like a ballerina through here. The other thing was just like, I don't know, bringing Susan Boyle through. This is such a lovely, easy, playful car through the bends. You brake, turn in. The RS4 would have been understeering chronic through there, even through here. And already you're caught up with the car straight away. So the carbon air intake just gives this engine the most visceral sound you could ever hope for. Just slips and slides with it, traction on. It's a beautiful, beautifully playful car. So this particular car is a high miler. It has done, you ready for this? 127,000 miles. 127,000 miles. Sounds a lot, but most importantly, all the big jobs have been done. So it's mechanically strong, and the service history file, my God, it's like a stack of Bibles. This has been so well maintained. Yes, it's been used very well. No doubt it's been out on track. I've got no shadow of a doubt. But ultimately, it's mechanically strong, and that is what you're looking for when you buy any E46 M3. When I say mechanically strong, the head gasket's been done, the rod bearings have been done, the vanos has been done, the boot floor's been done. So all of the major things that you need to be looking for on a car like this have been taken care of. And as a result, what you've got is a very mechanically strong, fully usable CSL that you don't mind carrying on putting the miles on. There's a few ownership propositions with the CSL. You've got the investment ones that have done 5,000–10,000 miles. Those cars are never going to be used. They're just sitting in private collections, amassing value, and they'll continue to go up. There's some for like 100 grand I've seen with like virtually no miles on the clock. Then you've got the middle ground that have done the kind of 50,000 to 70,000 miles. Those are still usable cars, but at that mileage, that's when you're going to start getting the big jobs, so you want to make sure that the jobs are already done. Then there's these. The high milers. The ones though that have been well cared for, well maintained, and you don't mind leaning on them. These are the cars, if you want to use your CSL, you don't care about if it's going to keep going up in value or not. These are the ones to be looking for, the high milers that have been well maintained. I've got no issue using this car at all, and I will continue using this car and keep putting the miles on. I'm one of these people that buy a car to use, not to put in a collection. Yes, I'm trying to be a bit more sensible with my choice of cars, like Defenders, CSLs. They're not going to lose value, even if you keep putting the miles on. And the thing is with the SMG, if you don't like it, in 2020 there are now companies that do manual conversions. So if you really do just want to have a manual version of a CSL and you don't mind what it does to the value, then just go and get it swapped. It's like 3.5 grand. It maintains a lot of the original elements of the SMG because it's a semi-automated manual. So worst case, when you do come and sell it, if you really want to put it back to standard, you can again. But for me, the SMG is integral. It's an integral part of the CSL experience. Then there's the sound. The sound of these cars is literally just to die for. Cannot beat that sound. Name any M3 or M4 in this day and age now that makes a sound like that from a naturally aspirated engine. It's just pure engine noise. So what are the things that they've done to make the CSL more lightweight? Well, they've obviously stripped out a lot of the, well, they've stripped out whatever they can basically. So for a start, you've got lighter wheels, so you get a lower unsprung mass, which means that it just helps with the handling. Not when you go over speed bumps, mind. You can spec the car out of the factory with various deletes, so you can have it without the head unit, for example. You can have it without parking sensors, both of which this car doesn't have. You can have it without aircon as well, but you've got to be mad. You need aircon. It doesn't have that much weight really, surely. Obviously you have the carbon roof, you've got the ducktail boots and various other carbon fibre frippery all over the place. Most notably you've got the CSL's bumper, which has a lovely air intake on the left side that just scoops up the air and brings it into the engine and creates the most amazing visceral sound. So furthermore, on the interior you've got your fixed bucket seats. These are just perfect in terms of driving position. Yes, you can move them back and forth, but they don't recline. You just sit in them and enjoy the ride. Then you have the Alcantara steering wheel, which is just, again, perfection. Puts you in race mood the second you get in the car. I should just shut up really and just let the engine do the talking. E46 M3, it has a sport button. Why it has a sport button, I will never know. That should be the first thing you press as soon as you get in the car. Ultimately, yes, you do need to let it warm up, let the oil temperature get up, everything, so that you're not going to run the risk of doing the rod bearings. But once it's all nice and warm, then yeah, the sport button goes on and you can just unleash holy hell. It's amazing. The driving experience is just the best car I've ever owned and probably ever will. The lovely guy that sold it to me, even he's struggling to find a replacement that ticks all the boxes. In terms of traction control, you do have the M button here on the steering wheel. It's a bit of a debate about that really. I've never really got on with that button because it's a bit like having a helicopter parent really. You press that and it's still there in the room ready to catch you, even when you're not being that silly. So what you want to do, you literally just want to press the DSC button and just completely remove the helicopter parent. It's far better that way. It intervenes a little bit too soon. To be fair, at the moment, I'm 40 now, so I'm getting quite old, so that probably is quite a good option for me, having the helicopter parent button. Back when I was 25, I used to have the DSC off constantly, and it was fun. You could play around with it, and it almost caught me out once, and I still remember that. It was a scary one. So yeah, perhaps I'll have the helicopter parent button pressed. But the ultimate thing about these cars are they are so playful, so when you do get used to it, you know, once I've had this a few months and I'm fully confident again and I've fully learnt the car, then I probably will just go back to having the DSC off completely and fully enjoying it. So I'm going to end the video there, guys. Just a short one to share my excitement over my new purchase, the CSL. I highly recommend it if you've got the means and one comes up, just do it. You will not be disappointed. This car is something that I'm going to keep and cherish for a long time. Even the previous owner, he bought it to tick a box, was going to keep it 6 months, kept it 5 years. Such is the epicness of the CSL. So thank you for watching. Please consider subscribing. There's going to be more videos of me with this silly car in the future. Please hit the like button, drop a comment, and I'll see you soon.